All right, so there's one more main type of bonding that we're not really going to explore, but I just want to mention. If you think about the options that we've chosen, we've talked about what happens when you have a metal and a non-metal, then we get ionic. Then what about two non-metals? Then we get covalent. But what about metal plus metal? What kind of bonding do you get? And the type of bonding that you get here is known as covalent, or my bad, metallic bonding, metallic bonding. So for example, when you have some solid sodium, these sodium atoms are bonded metallically to one another, or if you have an iron bar that's made up of a bunch of iron atoms that are metallically bonded to one another, or copper, or whatever. And this includes metals of different types. So for example, alloys are mixtures of metals, so they're technically not pure substances, they're mixtures, but nonetheless they metallically bond to one another. So for example, bronze is a mixture of copper and tin, and they are metallically bonded to one another. And then brass, for example, is zinc and copper. And you can have all kinds of different types of alloys. So what kind of bonding do we see in these metallic bonds? So the way it's described is that you have nuclei in a sea of electrons. And so what that looks like is we have some nuclei just about, right? So these dots represent our nucleus. And then we have an outer shell of electrons that they don't belong to any one specific atom. They're just kind of floating all around the place, right? So this kind of blue represents our sea of electrons. And so as we said, the outer electrons don't belong to any one nucleus. Instead, they kind of form this sea, as is like to be described as. And so what that means is they're free to move about. Right, the electron can go from one side of the solid to another side of the solid. And if you think about the properties of metals, that's really important because metals conduct electricity. Right, if you need to transport electricity from one place to another, you're probably going to use like a copper wire or something. Right, think about your outlets and stuff, there's metal there. And the reason that they can conduct electricity is because what electricity is, it's moving charge and generally moving electrons. And so metals are really good at conducting because their electrons are not bound to a nuclei. Instead, they're free to move around this kind of so-called sea of electrons. Overall, we won't cover metallic compounds much, but just so you know about it.